I have is on the Kelso Lion berries. There's no, on the back of the form, which we did not get, had the address of where to send your check or your filled out form. So if you are going to order berries from the Kelso Lions, call me and let me know, and then I can give you the address and the person to contact, because we went through it and contacted that person and got an address. And I don't see Bob or Tom.
Bob's having a hard time getting on.
Okay. I don't see Tom. I know we did pretty well on concessions on Friday and Saturday. And as far as I know, we're doing it again this Friday and Saturday. So if you want to work, go ahead and probably contact Bob, I'm guessing. I'm not sure how he is since he fell on Friday when they're taking stuff down. But if not, probably Tom will be setting it up. Or Louis, I'm not sure. Is Louis going to help set up this?
Yes.
I mean, this week, Cindy?
Yes.
Is there a time he doesn't ever help?
When we talked to him, he seemed like he was in good spirits and ready to do, but we'll see when he gets there.
Okay, Cindy, all we can see is from your lips up if you want to adjust your camera.
Well, I had to go off to get Bob and Donna a link back to that, so I'm readjusting.
Okay.
Okay.
I just like everybody to show their best side.
Marilyn?
Yeah.
You mentioned Bob, and I saw it in the roar, but it doesn't explain. He fell and had to have stitches.
Yes, he fell off the back end of the...
Hey, wait a minute.
Somebody saw
Here.
No stitches.
He had scar.
Oh.
No, I just had some blood running down my face.
Oh.
Do we have pictures?
I hope not.
Right there it is.
Oh, wow.
Oh, just about, huh?
That's not
Owie. Owie.
Yeah, that's good.
so. That's
Oh, I'm glad you're not too bad.
Yeah.
So, Darlene, now that we got more people here, I can give the update on the PPE.
Okay.
They've come up with an order, and they came in a little bit more expensive, and they can't get everything they want on the first order. And it's about $9,355 for, I think, 359 of these PPE things. And then we're also purchasing some extra filters for them so they can use them more often. And so hopefully this week, Dolly and I can get that taken care of. I've talked with Dolly. Most people know they're selling their business, and they're in that little awkward spot right now. We're waiting for everybody to sign and be free to get things done. So that's an update on that.
Okay. Bob, you want to do an update on concessions from last weekend?
You're unmuted, so you can talk, Bob.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. We did another good weekend. We had 1367 on Friday sales and 967 on Sunday sales. So yeah, another fantastic weekend. So, and we're gonna, be the same hours this week.
Saturday?
Friday will be 10 to 6, and Saturday will be 10 to 4.
Okay.
So
where's that at?
Safeway, right?
Yeah, we're just going to go.
Ocean Beach Highway.
We're not going anywhere else. Yep, 30th and Ocean Beach.
Okay.
Last time I kind of had backed off on having people call me and said I was going to try to round some people up that I haven't seen. Well, that didn't work. So if you'd like to do a shift, go ahead and text me and I can fill you into the schedule either day. So,
Okay. All right. Greg Firth, anything on membership?
So we're just waiting for the monies to come in from Tom's two sisters,
Okay.
and then monies to come in from Richie Wangler's mother.
Okay, all right. Well, give us 3 new members. Ken Botero, anything for zone chair?
We can take and do some of the zone report after the end of Marilyn's speech.
Okay.
It would be proper to let Judge Haan do her presentation, then we take care of our business.
Okay.
Thank you.
And one of the things we do, Ken, is we wait till about 10 after and it's 12:08. And Judge Evans just appeared, but then he blanked his screen. There he is. Oh, he's got his bow tie. You're muted.
There you go.
So, Kurt, since you are the program chair for the month, would you like to introduce your guests?
Mute yourself, Kurt.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, I'd like to introduce Superior Court Judge Marilyn Haan and Superior Court Judge Michael Evans. They're here to give you an updated status report with regards to the Superior Court. The Superior Court has gone through some significant changes because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they can talk about that. We've ended up with a backlog of not being able to do jury trials, but they're working on a solution on that, and it's really an exciting time. A lot of change going on with the Superior Court, and I thought you guys would be interested in hearing from our Superior Court judges about what's going on because of the pandemic. So with that, I would turn it over to or introduce my speakers, Judge Marilyn Haan and Judge Michael Evans.
All right, thank you, Kurt. So thank you for having us. I was thrilled when I saw the email from Kurt inviting the judges to come and speak. There's been so much going on, and it's happened very quickly as to changes and how we're doing things at the court. So to get there, though, I want to just lay some of the background of where we've been. It's kind of all piled in together, and it's hard to believe that back in February is when the governor first declared a state of emergency related to COVID-19. And so that was February 29th, I believe it was. And then the Board of County Commissioners declared a state of emergency, I think it was March 4, not too long afterwards. And then the Washington State Supreme Court authorized for the courts to start modifying their rules to meet the new way, or trying to figure out the new way that we were going to be able to provide services. And then, of course, the schools closed, which also affects what we're doing. And just a little bit of background as far as from me is that I came on the bench in about 2011. Prior to that, I was the city attorney for Longview, and I worked with Kurt while he was there. So I've been on the bench since 2011. For the last basically 3 years in particular, I've been the presiding judge over at juvenile. So most of what I'm going to address is related to the juvenile court. And then Judge Evans has been over at the Hall of Justice, and he'll address some other areas. And then we're hoping that Judge Fassett will be able to join us as well and give you a tour of the Expo Center. You're going to be the first outsiders basically to see that. And so hopefully she'll be able to join us and show you that as well. So when I talk about the schools closing, that does affect juvenile. And for juvenile, there are basically 3 or 4 areas that are handled there. We have our juvenile criminal dependencies, which is where the state has removed a child because of neglect, abandonment, abuse. And third are at-risk youth, where a parent files a case to try to get the court involved. to assist them with getting services for their child, and then truancy. So that closure of the schools really affected a lot of what we did. And then in March, we also had jury trials that were scheduled, and we're always very heavy docket when it comes to trials and jury trials. And so we excuse the jurors. So it's a very big, significant thing to suddenly basically call a halt to the court, except for those very significant issues of, potential harm or serious threat to anyone within the community. And that's where we were still kind of looking at things. So it was in March where the Superior Court had implemented their first emergency order to start addressing what was going to be going on in our courts. And, to try to get a grasp of everything, we essentially shut down, except for those things that, again, are the emergency type things. Apologize for the background noise. For the emergency things such as domestic violence protection orders, the more serious criminal matters, those kinds of things we still needed to address. At that time, we were dealing with and using what we use all along, which is telephones. And there's a particular telephone system that the courts use called Court Call. So we set up under our first emergency order dealing with the emergency cases via Court Call, not having people in the court. We also, about that same time, really moved to electronics, where the majority of our staff were working from home. So IT was extremely busy getting us all set up so that worst case scenario that none of us could get into the courtrooms, that we could all be working from home and basically conduct court from home. So it was our IT staff have really been overrun, but they've done an excellent job and really put a lot of things into place very quickly that we certainly didn't anticipate. And as many of you may know, trying to get things that we needed, the masks, the soaps, all those different things that are necessary, again, were very difficult to get a hold of. So we were worried about the dockets and the safety of the staff, the gathering of people. And so at least for a short while, shut down except for those urgent things. Then under the first order, the criminal trials were stricken until May, because we had high hopes at that time that all was going to be good. We'll be back into court. And really didn't know what was going to happen. And so a lot of jury trials were stricken. Civil trials were stricken until June. Drug court, which is built on the idea of really monitoring the participants. But it was a real challenge of how do you do that when you can't even have a face-to-face with those people. So they did check-ins with the drug court. We also expanded the time to bring things like mental health hearings before the court, and many of the civil things such as family law, those kinds of evictions and those kinds of things were, again, just stopped very quickly. So we had to figure out, what are we going to do? We can't do this. These people need to be able to get some relief for the things that they need to do. And so we then started, at least for juvenile, we really had to keep going, because with the dependency cases, there are time requirements very similar to criminal cases, where you have to say that a child is picked up because of allegations. The parents have a right to a hearing within 72 hours. So how do we do that? So we started using GoToMeeting. And juvenile court really used GoToMeeting for quite a while. And we're really got it down to pretty well. It's not good. Just like you have with your meetings, you have people that either lose signal, can't get on. a number of things. And we're working with a real cross population of people, and whether or not they even have what it takes to join the court by this type of system. So we also, as you would with your meetings too, had the ability for them to call in. And so a number of people would do that too. So just a real broad, that's kind of where we've been. Now the question is, where are we going? And we had a couple more emergency orders that went into place where we had to continue cases out and set those dates out even further. And the backlog that it was creating was just going to be, we wouldn't be able to manage it. And so I'll let Judge Evans talk a little bit more about what they did over at the hall. But as far as juvenile, again, we used the go-to meeting, and it seemed to be working pretty well, but not when it comes to something like trials or what we call fact findings. Because for me as a judge, it's so important to be able to see that person and see how they act, see how they respond, their mannerisms, and not having that extra information made it very difficult to judge a trial and to be able to see what was going on. The other thing that was most interesting to me at juvenile is we all think, oh, kids, they're used to the technology, it works well. But reality is, it does not work well for the kids. I don't know if they're so used to playing their games on, electronics that they don't put themselves into the fact that they're actually in court. It may be electronic court, but they're in court. And it just has not had the same impact that the adults have been able to have. And so it's been an interesting process to kind of learn of what works, what doesn't. So, like I said, it's just not the same as being in person, but, we have what we have to keep people safe. And so we use the electronics and have continued to use electronics. About a month ago, 3 weeks ago, we started to work on trying to open the juvenile court for limited purposes, but it was so limited that, and then the numbers started rising. Well, we're just not going to continue to bring people into a place at that time where we put too many people at risk. So at one point we changed to Zoom, but as you can see, Zoom was not set up for purposes of court. So we've had to be creative and how we're going to do it and how things are set up. And it really takes a lot of preparation ahead of time to really make it flow a lot easier. So with that, that's kind of what's happened as far as the court part of juvenile. And then as far as the kids and the youth that were in detention, at that point in time, a lot of the youth were done with, or close to being done with serving their detention time. And so we looked at our policies because, again, just to be able to follow the requirements of safety, we needed to have fewer kids in detention. And so we looked at whether or not we could safely release all the, certain youth to the community or not. If not, they were held until their detention time was complete or until their matter was resolved. But then the other youth that we did not see as a risk, we went ahead and released and looked at different alternatives as to what they could do to serve their time and give back to the community, basically. So it's been a lot of creative activity, creative work that I so appreciated the understanding of the community, the staff, and everyone has just really done a fantastic job of stepping up and trying to work together to make a good, positive setup. Not ideal, but definitely a great setup. So that's kind of what's happened as far as with the youth. So I don't know if anybody has any, well, probably better to wait till the end if anybody has questions, and let Judge Evans go ahead and let you know briefly. I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to see the Expo Center and what's going on there.
Okay,
So Judge Evans?
Before he talks, I'm going to mute everybody just to make sure. And that means once I mute, then Judge Evans unmutes himself. There you go. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Haan. It's good to see everybody. It's fun to be involved in these meetings, and it's fun to see faces and watch people eat and do their work and listen. And so it's fun. And I just have to mention, Cheryl Coast, I don't know you, but wherever you're at, your screen background, I want to go there. That's beautiful. So Judge Haan went over a few things. I just wanted to share kind of just send some insights so you kind of get a feel of what's happening with our trials and the way we're conducting business. First off, I never thought I would conduct a hearing from my dinner room table or from my office. I actually was running behind on a pre-docket meeting, and don't tell anybody, but I called into that meeting via Zoom. And while I was driving, hands-free, I conducted that preliminary hearing before the docket started. So it's kind of it's a seismic change. It's a seismic shift. People are appearing virtually, and it's had a lot of nice benefits. For example, a lot of people are involved with the drug court. They have to come sometimes weekly to the drug court docket. Sometimes they can be every couple of weeks or every 4 weeks. For those that are coming every week, that's a significant period out of your chunk of your day when you can't be at work. So people would have to take time off from work. People lost jobs because employers don't want to be letting people go and coming and going. So now what happens, they'll take a quick break from their work. They can jump onto the Zoom call, they can check in, they can provide support, and they can get back to their work. I think that's really significant, and I think that we'll see a lot more of this. But for the pandemic, it wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened. Law is very traditional. We are rooted in the past, and so we needed something big to shake us up, and we definitely got that. One thing that's interesting, you'll be hearing from Judge Fassett later on about the jury trial setup we have over at the Expo Center. One thing you'll note is that I think everybody's distanced by about 6 to 8 feet. Early on, when Ellen and I was trying to promulgate some of these rules, and there's a lot of unknowns, and everybody's just doing the best that they can do, Ellen and I felt it appropriate that for jury trials, the social distancing could be 3 feet for juries, 3 to 4 feet. I don't know what it is about the courtroom that makes them extra special or resistant to that virus, but I think for ourselves, we kind of discounted that, and we're using the larger distances to make sure everybody's safe and in good stead. One thing that you should know is that if in America, as you all know, when you're accused of a crime, you have the right to a speedy trial. If you're in custody, generally that's 60 days. If you're out of custody, it's generally 90 days. The Washington State Supreme Court suspended the speedy jury trial rule. So in other words, if you got arrested back in March, you don't know when you're going to get a jury trial. And so what they've done now, they said, well, the speedy trial time is suspended until September 1st. That's a pretty significant issue if you're the one that's been accused of a crime, where you're sitting in custody, waiting, hoping for a day to prove your innocence or present your case. So that's something to be aware of, and I think that's important. Be aware also that our backlog of criminal cases is about 650 to 700. That's a little over double of what our normal backlog is, and it's growing, and so that's why we have this strong push to get those jury trials out. Because if we know we have a deadline for our homework assignment on Monday, well, Sunday night we're going to be busy getting things ready and getting it done. In like manner, when you have a criminal case, if you know that there's not a deadline, well, procrastination may set in, and you may not work on your case as hard as you might otherwise, because there's not a deadline. And so that's why it's so important that we have the trials are there, that that that's going to happen on a particular date, so everybody gets ready. Last thing I just wanted to mention, 2 last things. I've conducted several bench trials where I'm the finder of fact and also the judge. Via Zoom, all the parties have appeared by Zoom. It's a different experience. you can still get a vibe for people, and you don't pick up as much maybe on the, because you're only seeing the torso and the head. So there's a distinction there. And then I think also that it's, for me, this is kind of an interesting side effect. It's kind of a personal quirk that I have. When I'm in a live docket or live hearing setting, and I'm giving my verbal ruling, I'm sensitive to the reactions of people. As I make eye contact with them, I pick up on emotions. Sometimes they're giddy, they're happy. Other times they're downright upset and frustrated. And so I've noticed that oftentimes it's harder for me to keep eye contact and deliver my rulings when people are there in court. I've noticed when I've been doing Zoom rulings and I give my ruling via Zoom, there's a buffer that this screen gives me, and it makes it easier that I'm not kind of absorbing that negative emotion or those emotions or feelings that are being sent my way. So I'm a lot better making eye contact on my Zoom rulings as a result. Last thing I was going to mention, the district court has a significant backload also, and they were making attempts to get a lot of these people that have been charged but not formally appear in court, to have them all converge on the Hall of Justice during a week's time. Hundreds of people each day. And there was some concern about that, and so luckily they pulled back from that plan, so there was not a significant number of people converging at the court, where there could have been potential exposures and distancing requirements not being met and masking issues being not being followed. So with that said, those are just kind of some of the highlights and some of the things I thought might be of interest to you. And I'm not sure if Judge Fassett is on the line. I think she was on earlier, ready to show you some images from the courtroom and in the expo center. So I don't have any additional comments at this point. Thanks.
She's blacked herself out for some reason. Oh, there's
I'm here.
Okay.
I apologize in advance because I am masked up because I'm at the Expo Center right now. My name is Patricia Fassett, and I'm the newest, well, I'm almost the second newest now when we have Tad Scudder coming in. I was appointed last February by Governor Inslee, so I've been on the bench since March of last year. I'm going to take you on a tour of the Expo Center, just the courtroom portion, because that's all we have access to. So give me 1 second, flipping this around. So we're in the Lewitt West room. Oh, there's the elected clerk. So here we are. This is what our new jury trial room is going to look like. So right now we have a whole bunch of people here checking it out, testing their equipment. So we invited some of the attorneys to come in and see what it's like now that it's pretty. This area here that's surrounded in black curtains would be a jury box. So we are not taking the 3 feet. We're doing 6 feet as per CDC guidelines, not the Supreme Court guidelines of 3 feet. So I agree with Judge Evans. I don't know the virus knows that we're in court, so I think it's more appropriate. There's going to be a screen for exhibits to be shown to anyone. There's also going to be one, I don't want to make anybody sick with moving this around, on the other side of the room. These 2 areas over here are going to be counsel tables for both defense and prosecution. Then we have the clerk's table over there, the judge's table, and the witness stand. So just from a different perspective here, we've made everything as socially distanced as possible without making it so the witnesses aren't a football field away from the jury. So now I'm standing next to the witness table. So there's counsel table looking back at the jury box, and then the display. Got a little podium set up for the attorneys. The judge would be sitting up here. We got our flags. And then clerks. We have a lot more electronic equipment going on over here than we would regularly. So that's been a little bit of a hiccup, but our people are working through it amazingly. And then this is where counsel table will sit over here. And now we'll have a view back at the screen, the clerk, the judge, witnesses, and jury. We've set up speakers everywhere around to amplify the different microphones that we've had to place to make sure that everyone can be picked up inside of this quite large room. 2 doors down, the giant room that we normally use for, not we, but we normally see for big fundraisers and things like that, is where we're going to have the jury staged. So when they come in, they'll be socially distanced within that area. And then the rooms across the hall, which are also currently shut, will be where the jury will deliberate. So those rooms, I think, have about 1,200 feet each. So we're able to socially distance 13 people, 14 people within those rooms to deliberate for our jury trials. We were hoping to have a jury trial go next week, but we do not have one going next week. So we'll try again for the following week. So I guess it would be the week of the 17th. So that is the update from here. I would show you more, but the other rooms are locked. This is the one that we have going today, but we're all working really hard to try to get these back up and running and serve all the people of Cowlitz County.
So Judge Fassett, can you just kind of go over what it took to get everyone to this, where you're at?
Well, it's everybody's heard the term herding cats, I'm sure. So it was very much like that. We had a lot of different people that we had to bring in from a whole bunch of different agencies within our county and outside of the county. We obviously brought in defense attorneys and prosecutor to look at what our setup was, help us with any kind of oversights that we may have had while we were building this. But we've had to recreate a courtroom and a secure courtroom in a facility that isn't set up for that. So we had several meetings with the jail and jail staff, several meetings with the sheriff's department, IT, obviously the folks at the Expo Center, on top of our department, Chad Connors, our court administrator, the judges, judicial assistants. I mean, it was sure a group effort. IT ended up having to hire from the outside to help get everything set up. I just look at it, I'm standing right next to this, and it causes me some heart palpitations just looking at all the electronics that are going into these things. So it's definitely been a group effort. It's been a version of the courtroom that we finally landed on after some trial and error, testing out different speakers, microphones, screens for showing exhibits, and I think this is the final version of what we're going to go with. But it's been a very long process with many, many people involved, and we couldn't have gotten here without everyone's help.
So can you also talk a little bit about the hearings before the trial and what you've been doing? Pre-trials, the omnibus, and...
Sure. So all of our criminal matters obviously couldn't stop during this process. So initially we did a lot of in-person hearings and tried our best to socially distance everyone from the courtroom. We've obviously now switched over to Zoom, which has worked really well. So I would say probably 80% of the criminal hearings that we have now are being done over Zoom, with the idea of getting to 100% hopefully soon. And it's working relatively well so far. I think the hardest part is making sure that all the paperwork gets where it's going, which isn't a Zoom problem. That's a us problem. But it's been working really well, and everyone has been scrambling just to try to keep up with the changes and what's been going on. But I'm very proud of the people that I work with in how far we've come during this pandemic, working with minimal staff. And hopefully when we get a point where everyone's comfortable, we can start having jury trials in the community and continuing to serve justice not only in court, but in jury trials as well.
So it looks like there's a few questions, and I don't know if we have our monitor. It looks like Hal stepped away.
this is for you, Patricia Fassett. How will the people be checked for weapons?
Great question. So we have, the sheriff's office contracted recently, a couple months ago, with a private security firm to take over the security at the Hall of Justice. The Phoenix firm, I don't know if their name is Phoenix firm, but it's Phoenix Company. They are contracted to do the Hall of Justice, and they have extended their contract to cover here. So they'll be bringing over one of those doohickeys that will have a minimum of 3 people here from that company at all times.
Steve Patterson?
You're on mute, BK. Patricia, is there any accommodations for spectators at all?
Another great question. Thank you. What we are planning on doing, at least in the beginning, is all trials will be broadcast over YouTube through Zoom. And then we are also working with KLTV. So they will be broadcasting some trials as well, unless there's something that is prohibited from being broadcast. That is our accommodation at this point. We're not going to bring in public until we get to a place where we're a little bit more comfortable with our process and our surroundings, and to just keep everyone as safe as possible. So the accommodation is you can watch it online or on your TV.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Phil Olson?
This question is for Judge Fassett. I noticed in the courtroom there was a lot of linens, and I wondered how that's going to work for getting rid of possible exposure between trials.
And I heard everything except there was a lot of what? I'm sorry.
There were a lot of linens on the tables. The tables all had linens, and
Yes.
those are probably pretty good harborers of the virus.
I would not disagree with you. And we have asked them to all be removed. So they will not have linens on the council table, the clerk's table, judge's table, and the witness table. The only linens that are going to remain are what they call, I've learned this now, it's called pipe and drape. So it's this stuff. So this stuff around the jury box will likely stay. We have brought in extra cleaning equipment, extra cleaning supplies. So everything is going to be cleaned between groups of people as well. So all knobs are going to be wiped down. All chairs are going to be wiped down. Same with in the jury deliberation room and in the waiting room for the jury. Additionally, we brought over about half a dozen additional Purell dispensers to put out all over the place. And we set up a hand washing station in the jury deliberation room. And there's extra protocol in place for cleaning of the restrooms here at the Expo Center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kurt?
Yes. So I wanted to make a comment. Before any trial, whether a jury trial or a civil trial, we have hearings. And those are done on motions and declarations and briefs and that kind of stuff. And we've been doing those by Zoom or the judge making a decision based on the pleadings, which as an attorney, I enjoy this, sitting in my office and making an argument on a hearing is convenient for me. But as Judge Evans indicated, clients prefer to go to court and be in front of the judge and make a connection, even though they don't get to say anything in a lot of occasions. My question for the panel is this: are these changes permanent? Are we going to continue this after the pandemic, or is it going anticipated that we'll go back to how we used to do business?
Judge Evans, if you want to answer that.
Sure. My sense is that it's probably here to stay. I don't see us going back. I think there will be a time if somebody wants to show up in person, they'd be more than happy to do so. But, you know, if I'm a Clark County attorney representing a divorce client up in Cowlitz County, it sure saves a lot of money for me just clicking on my computer as opposed to driving an hour and a half and billing my client for that. So I think there's significant pressure and just economic reasons and reasonableness factors that say it's going to stay, it's going to stick around. And if people want to show up, I think that's a good thing too. But I think a lot of people will opt for the Zoom.
Arla?
Patricia, will they be taking temperatures there like they do at other places?
At this point, yes, we've developed basically a safety checklist that we will have bailiffs asking jurors as they come in, actually before they even get into the building, if they've been exposed, if they've showing any symptoms that the CDC outlines, and we'll have a kind of a remote forehead thermometer so we can take temperatures. Anybody who is unwilling to participate in that process will likely be turned away, I think, at that point. Or their information will be brought to the judge, and the judge would make a determination of what to do with them next.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Bob?
Thank you.
Having been through a few jury trials, how are they going to do the jury selection when they bring in the whole passel of potential jurors? Where are they going to be, and how are you going to pick out the ones you want?
Judge Fassett? So I don't know.
Okay, so the part I thought I was on the
losing you.
The part that yes, the part that I can't show you is the Mount St. Helens room. Oh, I don't know what's on. Can you hear me yet? How about now?
Yes.
That's
okay,
better.
Sorry about that. So the big room, the Mount St. Helens room, will be divided into sections, and there'll be groups of 25 socially distanced within each section. And that will allow for us to take 25 jurors at a time into the room that I showed you and do the voir dire process. Then 25 will leave, the next 25 will be brought in. So it's going to be kind of in pieces, parts and pieces. It'll take a little bit longer, but we're hopeful that that'll keep everybody as safe as possible.
Eric Lipke?
My question would be certainly moving to the fairgrounds didn't come without some kind of cost. How is that being managed?
Judge Evans or Judge Fassett?
The CARES Act is something that we're relying on for that. We got approval from the county board to expand our area to include the expo center. That also was approved by the Supreme Court. And the fees that are going to be associated with this building, we're hoping all fall within that CARES Act that will be covered. And so we're being very careful about itemizing everything and making sure that we know exactly what money is being spent where.
Thank you.
Hal Palmer?
I've served a number of trials where witnesses have not necessarily been healthy. Are you going to delay the trial? Are you going to put that witness in another room? What are you thinking about for something like that?
That is an excellent question, Mr. Palmer. I'm going to say that we're going to rely a lot on the attorneys to know whether their people are going to be safe. They're not exempt from being checked when they come in the building, so they'll have to go through the same protocol when they come in. And I think it would probably greatly impact the likelihood of that witness testifying in person if they are not well.
Yeah.
So if that means we have to try to look at a remote testimony or a delay, then I think that's what we'll have to do.
Because I think you're going to want to avoid the delays, aren't you?
Well, of course we are going to want to avoid as many delays as possible. We've already had a huge one this year.
Yeah.
It's surprising that people aren't super anxious to get back to trial at this point either. So we're kind of running into some resistance from attorneys and defendants as well.
Jim Waters? Unmute yourself.
Okay, if a defendant and or the defendant's attorney wants the opportunity for his client or her client to appear in front of the jury, will he or she have that opportunity?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So if I could just follow up on that a little bit, in a jury trial, everyone would be appearing in person for a jury trial. If it is what's called a bench trial, where the trial is just before a judge, those are being handled by Zoom. And so there's a significant difference. And I'm talking about the civil cases at this point. I don't know if any criminal, sorry about the background, any criminal case, sorry, I don't know if any criminal bench trials have occurred yet, but as far as jury trials, that would be the right of the defendant to appear in person, to be able to see the witnesses and appear in front of the jury.
Do we have any other questions? At the moment, I don't see any. Okay, Judge Haan, Judge Evans, and Judge Fassett, I'd like to thank you very much for being in our Zoom meeting today and giving us all the information. We thank you very much.
Thank you very much for asking.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay, I'll redo a couple of announcements. Council Lions Berries, call me. I'll give you the address of where to send your form. Kettle corn Friday and Saturday at Safeway. If you want to work, text Bob and let him know. Friday 10 to 6, Saturday 10 to 4. And Ken, you were going to do an update on the zone chair. What's going on?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Just a couple of things. For those people wondering about the berries, you can go online and get the forms and the addresses. The council does not have an address, but if you go online to the Council Lions,
I have the address. You want me to give it?
Yeah, that and Wakayakum also has the addresses and the times.
Okay.
Not to go through them right now because it takes time. Also, I'd like to remind everybody that August 14th and 15th, the Klamath Lions are having their big garage sale down at the Little League field in Klamath. I was at the meeting last night, and what terrific things they've got down there. Hal ought to go down and buy a couple of boats.
You got some boats for sale?
Anyhow, those are things going. Clarence Knutson had his knee replaced last week, or the first of the week, and he's doing pretty good. So, other than that, we'll pass. I send things on to everybody else.
Okay. Well, something happened here.
Oops, that was me.
Oh, okay.
Doug Harvey decided to share his screen. You want to unshare your screen, Doug?
I guess so.
Doug? He probably doesn't know what he did.
Yeah. Okay, I don't have any other announcements. Does anybody else have any other announcements?
They're doing it, not us.
Al, do you have something?
Yeah, we had 39 plus 4. This is exciting. And obviously 3 of them were guests, but that's one of the things. And okay, Doug, stop sharing.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Doug, for that. And, you know, and as I announced earlier, we're getting ready to put the order in for the PPE equipment for the grant.
Okay.
Dolly and I are going to try to coordinate that this week, depending on her schedule.
Okay.
Anyhow.
All right. I'm going to adjourn this meeting. And you guys stay safe. Wear a mask when you're out there. And if you would like to work, get a hold of Bob.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
California maybe is different.
Bye, guys.
Hello. Bye-bye.